The Living Zen-podcast is a gift from the members and associates of the Victoria Zen Center to you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to let your friends know about Living Zen. If you'd like to support our community, here are a few ways that you can do it. Download the Living Zen podcast app for iPod, iPhone, or Android. You can also purchase additional Zen Talks by Venerable Eshu on iTunes or Amazon.com. One of the most meaningful ways to show your support is by joining our Sangha as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen podcast and our online eZendo will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at www.zenwest.ca and click on the membership tab. Thank you for your support. One of the basic practices in Zen is the investigation of this idea of separation. This idea, this belief, this concept of a line or a distance or a gap between this thing that we call a self, which we take to be inside, and what we call everything else, what we call the world, objects, things, other. We go through our lives as if this separation is real. We make relationship, we choose our life path, we make our preferences, our choices, based upon the notion, based upon the belief that this separation between inside and outside is real. The teachings of Buddhism point at this belief, point at this basis upon which we live all of our lives, and asks us to investigate this. It hypothesizes, suggests that this separation, this gap, isn't real, doesn't actually exist. This separation or this difference is something we create so that we can understand, so that we can look at things. But in the end, it doesn't exist. One of the ways that we can explore this or experiment with this teaching in our Zen practice is through the use of the senses. And that's what I'm reminded of this evening. When we receive basic instruction in Zen meditation, we receive the instruction to keep the senses kind of neutral, in the middle way. So with the eyes, they're cast down just in front of us. We don't close the eyes in Zen meditation because this is to weave to one pole, to one polarity, one side, which is to cut off the sense. Likewise, we don't look. We're not sharpening the focus and staring at the floor or staring at an object. The instruction is just to open up the full panorama, open up the full perspective of the visual sense and take everything in equally. This is a simple instruction. But what we find as human beings when we engage in this instruction is that, much like driving a car, where the idea is to stay in your lane, there is some drift. So as we sit with our visual sense, we find that on occasion we realize that our eyes have somehow closed. And this is not a problem. Just like when our tires touch a line, we just bring it back to the center. Likewise with the eyes, when they close a little bit, we just open them again, bring them back to this relaxed, equally open, equally receptive perspective. Likewise, on occasion, we find that the eyes catch something, pick up something, focus on something, and we find ourselves looking around. And when we do this again, it's just like our tires touching the other line. And what's important isn't whether or not we do this, because we're all human, so we're all going to do this. It's about when we become aware that we are doing this. It's the activity of bringing ourselves back to this open, receptive, vast middle ground of the sense. Not picking and choosing. Not selecting what we like and what we don't like. And what we find is that when we're able to engage in this open and receptive seeing, we're able to dissolve into that gap, that distance, that separation between inside and outside can melt away. The same goes with all of the senses. Tonight is an incredible soundscape, an incredible example. Each of us has things that we prefer, that we like, and things that we don't like. And our tendency when we meet something that we like is to focus on it, is to grab it, is to try and hang on to it. And our habitual response to things that we don't like is to try to block it out or try to avoid it. So coming back to the eyes, when we see something that we like, we look. And when something arrives that we don't like, whether it's a person or whether it's a color or whether it's a, certain type of art or something like that, we close we turn away, hideous. And sound is the same. And so tonight, we have this amazing situation where on the one side, we have the sounds of the late spring birds. All around us. And we want to listen. And if you're like me, you're sometimes trying to figure out, what kind of a bird is that? What kind of bird song is that? But when I catch myself doing this, I say, Eshu. Too sticky, too much attached. Come back and just allow it. Just allow all of the birds singing simultaneously to enter in the sense field of hearing. And out the other door, we have cars with modified pipes driving by up and down in the parking lot. And I go, oh, God, shut up, I want to hear the birds. Closing my ears to the sound. And catching myself with this closing, with this pressing away, with this increasing of distance, I say, Eshu, too much attachment, let go and open the sense field, open the sound. And each of us can do this so that in a single moment we can experience this cosmos with the sound of the birds singing, with the sound of the cars driving by. And in this moderate space, this equilibrium of sound, there's an opportunity. There's a gap in this distance. And in that space, we have the opportunity to experience that we are not separate from. When we let go of our categorization mind, when we let go of our distinction mind, when we let go of our specification mind, and allow ourselves to open up to this place of equilibrium, without the judgment of good and bad, without the need to hold out anything, any sound or any smell or any thought or feeling, without the need to chase after anything that we desire, but to simply allow ourselves to be at peace, at rest, in this very moment with all things just as they are. Spontaneously, this distance that we have created, this distance that we believe in, this distance that holds us and all things in this vast cosmos apart, which isolates us from everything else in this universe, in a single moment, in a single breath, dissolves. And we find ourselves at home. We haven't gone anywhere. We haven't added anything in. We haven't attained anything. There's absolutely nothing special about this experience, except that maybe for the first time in our lives, we are able to see and hear and smell and taste and feel the world that we live in, this life, this activity that we are living, just as it is, without the addition of our discriminations and judgments, without the addition of our desires and our aversions. And we can know for ourselves, in this very experience, that we are complete, that we are whole, that we are not separate from the sound, from the sight, from the smell, that we and all things in this vast cosmos are one. But as you listen to me, this is just me expressing an experience. And maybe for you, this is just an idea. And the teaching of Zen, the teaching of Buddhism, is that of fundamental importance is that you grasp this experience for yourself. Not thinking about it, but in this activity of zazen, Zen meditation, as you sit on your cushion, not idling your time away thinking about that list of things that you have to get done, but paying attention, bringing yourselves back into this equilibrium over and over and over again, and little bit by little bit, allowing that imaginary, self-constructed wall, barrier between inside and outside that we have created to melt away, to drop away, to dissolve, revealing this cosmos just as it is. Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.